Today we're here at Universal Orlando Resort, and today's episode is going to be a little personal. I've been coming to Universal since I was a little boy, and this place really changed how I viewed theme parks. When I was a little boy, I wanted to be in the movies. I wanted to work in film and production, do something, create soundtracks. I was starting to figure out that I could play music when I was little, and Universal kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities that one day I could actually do something like Steven Spielberg. Why not? One specific vacation here changed my thought process completely. I came to Universal, experienced the Ride the Movies campaign, rode some of my favorite attractions for the very first time. Jaws, E.T., Back to the Future, the ride. On the way home, when I was at MCO, the airport here, heading back to Mississippi, I stopped inside the Universal Studios gift shop they had inside the airport, and I picked up a VHS called Universal Experience the Magic of the Movies. I went home and I wore that VHS out to the point where I could quote it from beginning to end, no hesitation. In my mind, I can still hear certain things from that VHS, especially when I'm in the park. And I still own that VHS to this day. It was hosted by John Forsythe, and it was Universal's way of promoting the park before the age of YouTube, before cell phones and the internet. The way they promoted their park was they made about an hour-and-a-half documentary about their park. John Forsythe hosted it. They showed the opening ceremony. They showed each attraction in depth. Like, they went into good detail, and they did a full ride through of some of the attractions. Really good. The way it was presented was incredible. They started in 1991, remade it in 1994, and then did it again in 1996 when they added the Terminator 2 3D attraction in the VHS. So as they would change things and take things out, they would go in and modify the overall video, but it still was hosted by John Forsythe. I have two copies. I have a copy from 1991, and then I have my copy that I got, which was from 1996. And it got me thinking the other day. I was looking through my VHS tapes, and I saw it, and I said, oh my gosh, John Forsythe, Experience the Magic of the Movies. I need to go into Universal and find the key filming locations from that special, take some photographs, match it up, and this will kind of show how much has really changed since then. That's what we're gonna do today. Hi everybody, and welcome to the World of Micah. Probably one of the longest intros I've done in a very long time, but this is a very personal video to me. Because of that trip, I visited the Disney MGM Studios, and I visited Universal Studios Florida, and it made me become obsessed with movies, Hollywood, production, the whole shebang. And it made me become obsessed with theme parks. And ever since I watched that VHS, I was hunting down anything and everything I could find behind the scenes of theme parks and how they were made, especially theme parks that were based around film and television. So today, we're gonna travel around Universal Studios Florida and find the filming locations of the John Forsythe hosted VHS tape, Experience the Magic of the Movies. Now, let's take a closer look. And I have in my hand some screen grabs. Look at that, Universal Studios Florida, the Magic of the Movies. That was the opening title card right there. All right, we're gonna head inside and find all the spots. Now, June 7th, 1990, when Universal first opened, this was a parking lot. Then when they built City Walk, they completely changed everything, including the archway here. But I have a photograph we're gonna match up from the original archway of the grand opening of Universal Studios Florida. So right here you can see the limousine driving in some of the stars that came to Universal for the grand opening, including Michael J. Fox, Sylvester Stallone, Whoopi Goldberg, Steven Spielberg. They were all here. Now this isn't the same archway, but you can kind of see what I'm trying to portray here. This is what it looks like current day. Kind of the same idea, but it is different. You have to admit, it's a little more updated, a little bit more flashy, and we're not seeing any limousines driving in on a red carpet. All right, let's head inside the actual park. One more look. All right. And like I mentioned earlier, the host of the film was John Forsythe, and we meet him right over here in front of the Brown Derby hat shop. And John Forsythe really doesn't need an introduction if you know his work. But sometimes the guy likes to introduce himself, and I'll let him do that. We'll let John introduce himself. John, if you will.
I'm John Forsythe. Let's take a closer look.
Dude, that's my line. Right here is where we were introduced to John Forsythe. He would have been sitting on this bench right in front of the Brown Derby hat shop talking about the history of Universal. Every time I come into this park, I see this park bench, and I always say to myself, that's John Forsythe's bench. No one knows what I'm talking about. Maybe a few small group of folks. But this is more or less the location right here. Pretty cool. John Forsythe sitting right there on this bench. Brown Derby in the background, just casually talking, and you got to imagine a whole film crew right here. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now, long before Hello Kitty was here, this was the Lucy tribute. I did a video showing what this place looked like when it was the Lucy tribute years ago. That link is up above. But right over here, they had a scene with Lucy and Ricky through the doorway. And you can kind of see some of the Lucy stuff in the background, but there was Lucy and Ricky right here, standing in front of a whole group doing a little bit. It's completely changed. But if you guys want to see what it looked like, check out the video. It's pretty impressive how much has changed, but I do miss Lucy. That's for sure. I definitely miss Lucy. There's a scene of John Forsythe walking down the Hollywood Star walkway here, and he mentions Kirk Douglas. Then it pans up and says Linda Evans. And then the next one always made me chuckle when I would watch it. It said John Forsythe, and then he would look at the camera and say, wow. And this is where that scene took place, right here. John Forsythe walking down the stars right in front of Schwab's. Pretty cool. I love the fact that he got a kick out of seeing his own name within the stars. Right there. He probably would have been standing where that Schwab's pharmacy sign is, right over here. That's pretty cool. Still kind of looks the same, even the checkered floor there, and obviously the stars. Those have not changed. Now, back when this place first opened, they did have a tram tour, very much like the one they had out at Universal Studios Hollywood. Not as extravagant, but it did show the sound stages and most of the park. And it went along the road just like the one you see right here in Hollywood. And there's a photograph right here in front of the Beverly Wilshire and the Five and Dime Crest building, showing the band that was performing and the backlot tour. They were right about here. You can see the band and the tram going by. Everyone on the tram was looking at the production crew filming, and the band was playing some music. It was pretty awesome. Lots happening right here in front of the Five and Dime in the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. That's pretty crazy. Right there. And if you're curious, no, they do not have the backlot tour here any longer. That ended way back in the day. Right here you can see Laurel and Hardy and a guest standing in front of their vehicle. They were doing a little bit with him. Took place right in front of the Max Factor building. This place looks pretty much the exact same. They would have been standing right there. The vehicle would have been here. Laurel and Hardy on both sides of him. That's pretty cool, man. Matches up pretty well. And right up here in this window, they were showcasing some stunts that were being performed in the park. About right there is the camera angle. You can see, I'd say right about there is the camera angle. You can see the window being busted out and the padding where the stunt performer would fall down. They busted right out of that window right there. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Not much has really changed. Maybe a paint job, and obviously a new window. Now this is the Pantages Theater, home to the Universal Horror Makeup Show. It's gone through quite some changes since it opened, but right about here is where this was taken. You can see at the time it was the Phantom of the Opera Horror Makeup Show. Later on it changed to the Gory, Gruesome, and Grotesque Makeup Show. But this is where that was shot, right here. Pretty cool. Not a whole lot has changed. There was a really cool shot showcasing Frankenstein's monster doing a meet and greet right over here. And the way you can tell is because of this clock that's still there after all these years. Frank would have been kind of right. He's super tall. Yeah, right about there. That was it. Frankenstein right there going to give someone a hug. Gosh, I wish I could meet him. That's so cool. To the right of him, you can see in the neon it says Shakes, and on the left of him is the clock. Still says Shakes, and the clock is still there. So cool. Frankenstein's monster right here in front of Mel's Drive-In. Now right over here they built a stage very much like the one you see here. Obviously the trees and plants and everything were not as grown, but the camera would have been kind of facing up towards here, and right here is where the ribbon cutting ceremony would have taken place with Jay Stein and Steven Spielberg. Michael J. Fox is in there, Tom Wilson, Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, tons of celebrities were here. But it took place sort of in this area. There are some other photographs floating around online where you can actually see the Eagle Warehouse in the background. So it was more or less, you know, in this area. You can see the trees behind them. I want to say it was one of those trees right there. Yeah. That's pretty cool. A lot has changed. A lot has changed since they stood here and did that ribbon cutting ceremony. It was a film strip. And in the film strip you can see I spot Dracula, I spot E.T., King Kong, and Ghostbusters there. It's pretty cool. Now the next few shots are showcasing the lagoon stunt show they had right here. And the spot is kind of right about there. That's pretty crazy. You can see some of the sound stages and where the big explosion took place. And you can see on the far right of my photograph is the Eagle Warehouse Storage Company building, which is connected to Starbucks. Took place right over there. A lot has changed. They have definitely updated this area. But that's where the big explosion took place. Right about there. Also, you can see where Transformers The Ride is. The sound stage there used to look completely different. It's crazy how much changes, you know, have happened, because looking in the photograph, that's Murder, She Wrote right there. And the show building behind it is right there, stage 44. That's that sound stage right there. Stage 44. And then Murder, She Wrote was here, Eagle Warehouse building, and the explosion happened right about there. It's crazy how much, you know, has changed. Now this one's a little difficult to get to because the rock work and stuff they've added right here. I don't believe this was here. back in the day, and I'll tell you why. When you look at this photograph, you can see where we're at. Now that's Amity over here, and right here was the entrance to Back to the Future where the flags used to be. The way it's cut there on the lagoon is still kind of the same. They've added some, well, you kind of can see for yourself. This is where it took place. Right there. Big explosion on the boat. And they've added more things. Men in Black, Fear Factor Live, Diagon Alley. But right there is where the cut that I was talking about is. The flags would have been right there. And they've added some extra seating areas and things for the Simpsons. But more or less, that's what we're looking at right there. You know, when I was a kid, I always loved seeing these vehicles from Back to the Future, and it made me wish I had a time machine. Now as I'm an adult, I wish I had a time machine more than ever so I could go back and see what this place really was like back in those days, like I remember. Luckily, the power of the internet and videos like this that I'm making, we can go back in time. Before this was The Simpsons, this was the Institute of Future Technologies, Back to the Future, The Ride. Now pay attention to this pillar right here because this will be key in the photograph. And the reason is because you guys can see in this photograph, the pillar is how you can match it up, and the side of the building there, the way the roof slants. But this was the Institute of Future Technologies, Back to the Future, The Ride. One of my favorite attractions of all times. I wish this attraction was still here in some form or fashion. A lot has changed. The overall ride system is the same, just a very small bit of pieces of the original building are still intact from when it was Back to the Future. Mostly the glass window things. I mean, I don't know what you would call those. It's on the pillar. It's like a little glass formation that's cut into little squares. Honestly, I don't think you would really recognize this building at all unless you were a super fan. Let's say you came back in the 90s. Honestly, I don't think you would know. And you guys know nothing really remains from Amity except for these bathrooms and a few other things. I've shown that before in a video I did looking back at Amity. The link is above. Check it out. Now, more or less, this is where the hanging shark used to be from Jaws. A lot has changed. Captain Jake's Amity Boat Tours no longer exist here. But this is kind of where that area was. Right here, the Jaws attraction was straight in the back there. I did a really detailed video showcasing where the attraction was and different pieces of the attraction. But I had to include this. Why I never took a photo with that shark as a kid, I don't know. Just always know that this area is where Bruce the shark used to hang. In a lot of photographs, you can kind of see this building in the background from where he was. He was right here in this little centerpiece. And there's a rumor that they buried one of the animatronic sharks right here under this water. At least pieces of him. It's just a rumor. Who knows? I have to be careful when I get in this area and I'm doing other projects because I feel like I could spend a couple of hours pinpointing everything that's left from Amity. If you want to see that kind of stuff, just check out the video. And if you're curious, yes, I am still a little salty about them getting rid of Amity. And our next spot's going to be straight ahead in San Francisco, where Earthquake the Ride used to be. Now it is home to Fast and the Furious. Now in this photograph, you can see Earthquake on the right-hand side. There was a gentleman on top of the building about to do a free fall onto a mat. They were doing a production shoot and needed some stunt work. To the far left of the photo, you can see a light pole. Well, everything pretty much is still here. Architecture-wise, architecturally, that's the word I'm searching for. That's more or less where the camera would have been set up, where I'm standing right now. That's pretty cool. That light is still here. There used to be a banner right there that said Earthquake. No longer there. As you can see it in the photograph. Earthquake. And that light right there is still here. Everything, even the Ghirardelli building peeking its way on the side of the building right there. That's it. So yeah, match it up right there one more time. Right about there. Super cool, man. I do miss Earthquake the ride. That's for sure. Now straight ahead is Bull's Gym, which has Bullwinkle Moose, almost in a Rocky type stance. It's right next to the Transformers ride. And back in the day, Transformers used to be Murder, She Wrote, but there was also a Rocky and Bullwinkle show. Had a ton of cartoon friends in this show. I'm gonna kind of show you guys where the show took place thanks to these photographs. You're gonna wanna pay attention to that building right there because you'll see it in the photograph. Okay, in this photo you can see Rocky and Bullwinkle. Boris and Natasha were here and they had a big airplane. Now watch when I remove the photo, you're gonna see that building is to the left of the airplane. See it over there? So it was like right here where this photograph was taken. They were on this street. On the right of the plane is the building that was here once before that housed Murder, She Wrote. And that's that. Pretty cool, right? Rocky and Bullwinkle. That was a long, long time ago. Walking down Delancey Street, heading over to where they had a big production shoot for John Forsythe while they were making this. They weren't afraid to show cameras. They weren't afraid to show the production crew while they were making this because they wanted you to really understand this was a real working studio. They were really making movies, including the one you were watching. Right here you can see John Forsythe walking towards the crew. Pay attention to the overhang above John Forsythe's head, the Regal Cafe. You'll see it here in just a second. Boom, there it is. That's crazy. They had the whole crew right here set up. The camera guy was actually right here on this line looking at the photo. That's cool. And then John Forsythe had a close-up right here. You can see the taxi behind him no longer is here, but the pole and the Priscilla Hotel, which is to the right of John's head, the very top of his head, is still here. That's the Priscilla Hotel and that's the pole that's in this photograph. Also, a little crosswalk on the ground right there. Look at that. How cool is that, man? John Forsythe, right here. Now, Beetlejuice really wasn't looking like himself. He was looking almost like a on vacation Beetlejuice. Maybe they kind of knew about Beetlejuice in the Hawaii movie that was supposed to be made, but that's a different subject altogether. But Beetlejuice would have been standing right here with the lady in his Hawaiian shirt. Pay attention to the right of Beetlejuice's head. The way the fence is crooked there at the very top, and the wall behind Beetlejuice and the lady is still here. This is what I'm talking about. The way the wall goes like this. But pay attention to that right there, the way that kind of crooks a little bit. There's like a little C. It's right there. You see that? Right there. And that's the wall. So Beetlejuice would have been standing like right where I'm at, right here. I think he said to the lady, you wanna give me a kiss? Come on, give me a kiss, come on. So in this scene, John Forsythe would have walked up these stairs right here and made his way to right about here. And we can see in the background Mr. Charlie Chaplin walking up to Mr. John Forsythe. And they had a little bit right there. That is pretty cool. Right about there. There we go. That's crazy, right? Charlie Chaplin, John Forsythe had a little bit. He was asking for money, for a tip. John was searching his pockets but couldn't find anything. Now a lot has changed in this area, that's for sure. As you can see, the bench has changed significantly since those times. It was almost like a cement bench right there. And then this pole right here can be seen right there to the left of Charlie. The sign on it is no longer here. And then the fence to the right of John Forsythe is right there. It's kind of covered up. And that is right here. So, yeah. I love doing this kind of stuff, you guys. I could spend a long time in one location just finding all the spots. I love doing it. We got to move on though. Now you can see the Marx brother standing right here with the lady and the cigar in his hand. The pillars in the background with the King Kong Kongfrontation banner. And the building looks the exact same. And then this is what it looks like present day right here. Pretty cool. Not a whole lot has changed since those days. And our last spot's gonna be right here, the former boneyard. This is more or less where that was taken. You can see some of the props and scaffolding. This was taken from the Tram tour. And you can see soundstage 42 back there before it had a facelift. And they added a little bit of flair to the building. But this is where it was taken, right here. All of this was the boneyard. Tons of movie props just sat out here. Because you can actually go back there to the sound stages back in these days. The Tram tour went back there. This wasn't here. The stage was not here, but you could see all kinds of props out here. Jaws, Flintstones, Back to the Future. And there you go. I think those are some props from Land Before Time. It could be from Flintstones. Not 100%. There you go. That's it. That's all she wrote. Well, you guys, we came, we saw, we experienced the magic of the movies, at least the locations. Now, there was a lot more to this film, a lot more, but I just kind of figured I'd show you guys the highlights. I'll put a link down below. Someone uploaded this to the internet. Check it out and see what you guys think. This video honestly changed my life and how I view theme parks. I'm glad we got to do this today, but I think our adventure for today has come to an end. Which means, by the way, all the photographs that I used in today's episode will be given out through the mail to my Secret Society Club, which is a Patreon page I have. If you guys want to check that out, the link is above. So all you guys who are part of my Patreon on a certain tier, you guys will get this. I'll be making a post on there. So just know that if you are in a certain tier, as far as donations go, on the Secret Society Club page, you will be getting one of these in the mail. Little message on the back of one of the photographs that was used in today's episode here at Universal Studios Florida. But they took the words right out of my mouth. It is a wrap. It's a wrap, but it's also time to say goodbye. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the thumbs up button the next time you are here at Universal Studios Florida. Tell them World of Micah sent you. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. This was a huge, huge bucket list of mine to do because I love this film so much. It really did a lot to me as a kid and shaped who I am today. Certain videos, certain things like that, do that to people. And I always kept this kind of personal, but sometimes it feels good to put those things out into the world because there might be some other kid out there who's like a young Micah and is a dreamer and wants to do things later in life. And I'm telling you right now, kid, or even if you're 50, keep dreaming, do what you want to do, make your own future. It's yours, it's not written. Make it a good one, all right? See you guys on the next adventure. Until then, stay weird and I'll see you at the movies. Goodbye.